Hey, are you Autumn? I turned around at the voice while having coffee with my family at a cafe, and there stood my ex-husband, Ryan. Next to him was Lena, the woman who took him from me years ago. Oh. So, you got married? I glared at him in silence. Then he continued. Oh, I see. The infertile defect is still single? Planning to remarry with someone who already has kids? You and your new husband would be a perfect match. Ryan said this as if it were the most amusing thing. I slammed the table and stood up. What? Who are you calling infertile? It's true, right? Don't act like it isn't. Ryan laughed mockingly. We left the cafe since we felt sick. Just then, two girls, who seemed to be their daughters, walked past us. Autumn. One of the girls ran towards me and called out loudly. Catching her breath, she said, I'm Michelle, Ryan's daughter. Autumn, I have something very important to tell you. My name is Autumn Sawyer, 45 years old. I live with my family, my husband Noah, who is 3 years younger than me, our daughter Samantha, and Noah's parents. Noah was a chef, and I worked in sales. We both tended to be workaholics. Sometimes I worried that our 12-year-old daughter Samantha felt a bit lonely. However, Noah's parents who lived with us understood our work and treat Samantha with both kindness and strictness, allowing us to focus on our jobs without worry. On our rare days off together, Noah often prepared his exquisite dishes for us. Samantha was always envious of his skills and took every opportunity to learn cooking from him. But 17 years ago, I never imagined I would be this happy. That's because Noah was my second husband. I got divorced 17 years ago. My ex-husband was Ryan, and he was 5 years older than me and a senior colleague. In my 20s, I switched from sales to administration to continue working while being a housewife after marrying him. I thought we had a reasonably good married life, but apparently, that was just me. One day, Ryan asked for a divorce out of the blue. Hey, why all of a sudden? I was stunned in front of the divorce papers he handed me. I couldn't comprehend what was happening. Then Ryan turned unusually serious. You know, you still haven't had any kids, right? What? I was shocked. Ryan had never mentioned anything like that since we got married. However, my mother-in-law often pressured me. We lived with his parents, and my mother-in-law had asked daily about when we were going to have kids for 3 years. I tried my best to keep Ryan unaware of her attitude. I was concerned about not being able to conceive. But I felt that forcing myself to undergo fertility treatments wouldn't change the situation immediately. I believed it would happen when the time was right. But I was naive. You want a divorce because I can't have children? That's not the only reason. I had a bad feeling. Do you remember Lena? Of course I remember. She was my junior in the sales department. What about her? Just as the thought crossed my mind, Ryan spoke up. Well, Lena is pregnant with my child. What? I was at a loss for words. Everything was a complete shock to me. Not only had Ryan been cheating, but it was with my junior Lena. Divorcing me just because she's pregnant is too one-sided. I can't accept that. I argued vehemently. But Ryan had a nonchalant expression and said, but my mom agrees with it. At that moment, I realized where this conversation was coming from. I questioned to confirm. Yes, I support Ryan's relationship with Lena. My mother-in-law easily answered. Why? Doesn't that mean Ryan was cheating? Can you really forgive that? Yes, I can. I was speechless at her words. Because you've shown no sign of having children, right? I've been worried about that all this time. Well, maybe she was worried in her way. From her perspective. And you never said you two weren't trying. So it must be your problem. Then Ryan continued. See, I told you. Mom wants to see her grandkids. But you didn't show any sign of that, so it's unavoidable, right? With that, Ryan shoved the divorce papers in front of my bewildered face. I gave up and felt like I had no place left, so I signed the papers. Looking back, I should have demanded a proper division of property and alimony. But at that time, I didn't have the mental capacity to make such decisions. Word of our divorce and the reasons spread quickly at work. Lena left the company and smoothly transitioned to being a stay-at-home mom with her pregnancy and childbirth. Meanwhile, I was rumored not as a pitiable woman who was cheated on, but as someone with little appeal to keep her husband. Eventually, I quit my job. I couldn't stand the curious rumors and stares. I spent some time in seclusion in a small apartment I moved to. But even living like that, I got hungry. I decided to go outside since I wasn't particularly good at cooking. I went to a small restaurant being drawn by the good smell of stew. As I stared at the menu for a long time, I heard the chef ask, "What would you like?" Apparently, I had been looking at it for a long time. At that moment, I realized how utterly exhausted I was. Tears streamed down my face and I sniffled while I was eating. Yet, the chef silently placed extra napkins in front of me. That chef was Noah, my current husband. After that, I started frequenting the restaurant and eventually began dating Noah. Even when I told him I was older and divorced once, it didn't change our feelings for each other, and we married relatively quickly. Soon after we got married, I found out I was pregnant with our daughter, Samantha. Unlike my previous mother-in-law, Noah's parents were wonderful. My own family lived far away, so I was truly grateful for my in-laws treating me like their own daughter. On top of that, they told me I could work if I wanted to because staying at home too much could make me feel cooped up. I started helping out at Noah's restaurant because they were short-staffed and took on the accounting work that the owner disliked. A few years later, the owner retired due to health issues, and Noah took over the restaurant since his skills were highly regarded. Our work and parenting were going smoothly for over 10 years after that. Then one day, the three of us, Noah, Samantha, and I, were visiting different cafes. It was half enjoyment and half learning for Noah and me. We were discussing things like this menu is great or maybe they should consider changing the portion sizes. "Hey, is that Autumn?" I turned at the voice and saw Ryan, a man I had almost forgotten about. And next to him was, "Oh, it is Autumn. Remember me? It's Lena." A woman with a high, sweet voice that was not worthy of her age. Lena was there. She was 5 years younger than me back then, so she should be 40 now. That meant she was already middle-aged. But she was dressed and made up as if she were much younger, looking somewhat out of place. "It's been a while," I replied stiffly. My voice made Noah and Samantha look a bit uneasy. Then, Ryan asked as if to pile on, "Oh. So, you got married?" I glared at him in silence. Then he continued, "Oh, I see. The infertile defect is still single? Planning to remarry with someone who already has kids? You two would be a perfect match." Ryan said this as if it were the most amusing thing. Noah and Samantha were bewildered and their eyes wide in confusion. I slammed the table and stood up. "What? Who are you calling infertile? Oh, Autumn, why are you suddenly angry? It's true, right? You're marrying someone with kids because you can't have your own. What was wrong with these people?" I pointed to Noah and Samantha and said firmly, "No, you're wrong. I've been married to him for a long time and I gave birth to this child." "Yeah, right. Stop lying." Ryan laughed mockingly. I was exasperated. Why did he insist on thinking I was infertile despite my words? "Hey, let's get out of here," Noah suggested and nudged me. Samantha looked anxious. "Yeah, let's go. It's making me feel sick." "Oh, so this table is free then? Hey, come over here." A high school-aged girl approached with a slightly sullen expression from the entrance. "Ah, I see, this girl must be the child Lena was pregnant with then," I thought as I walked past her. "Let's forget about this place and move on to the next cafe. Yes, let's finally enjoy some coffee in peace." We checked the map. Then, Autumn. The girl from earlier ran towards me and called out loudly. Catching her breath, she said, "I'm Michelle, Ryan's daughter. Autumn, I have something very important to tell you." And that was the first step that changed our fate. 6 months later, I found myself visiting a certain building. My destination was a company on an upper floor. "Excuse me, I'm Autumn Sawyer, here to meet with Sam today. Thank you for waiting." Ms. Sawyer. The man started to say, then his expression changed to one of recognition. Are you, by any chance, Ms. Nelson? Sam called me by my maiden name. Yes, this was the company I used to work for. Yes, it's been a while, Sam. I smiled at my former boss. So, you're opening a store in the downstairs tenant space? Yes, that's right. It's my store. Oh. I can't believe it. Sam exaggerated his surprise a bit. I'm sorry about back then. I couldn't do anything to help. You were in a different department at the time, Sam. I don't think you could have stopped the rumors. Yes, you're right. But I still feel bad for what you went through. I was his boss, after all. Just then, Ryan returned from his sales rounds and entered the floor. What are you doing here? Did you come because you ran into me the other day? I silently watched Ryan still making casual remarks in a place like this. Did he realize his boss was nearby? Don't tell me you're thinking about getting back together now? What are you talking about? Sam admonished Ryan. Only then did Ryan seem to realize I was with his boss. He quickly apologized to his boss. Autumn is here for a business meeting today. A business meeting? I addressed Ryan, who was in surprise. You know that the tenant space on the first floor has been vacant for a while, right? Ah, I think so. My store is moving in there. Ryan looked puzzled. Wait a minute. Isn't that space supposed to be for a famous coffee chain? Yes, that's right, thanks to everyone. Sam looked pleased and added. Yes, everyone was excited about that store moving in. So, you joined the sales team of that chain? No. I paused before continuing. It's my store. Ryan looked even more confused. Hey, Ryan, I thought I told you that the owner of the coffee chain, Autumn, was coming today? Owner? Ryan looked back and forth between Sam and me, and sweat forming on his forehead. Ryan, today is about discussing business. Make sure you're not rude. I'm sorry for any inconvenience, Autumn. No problem. Today, I wanted to give everyone at this company a taste of our coffee. As soon as I said that, the entire floor reacted with excitement. Wait, are you saying you're treating us to coffee of that famous store? Young office ladies were quick to react in moments like this. Yes, that's right. I hope you'll become our best customers and that we can have a long relationship. Today, I want to offer you a little preview before our grand opening. Please, come down to the store if you would like. I looked at Sam to confirm. He nodded and said, absolutely, let's enjoy this treat. Everyone, let's go. Almost everyone on the floor, except those who stayed behind, went downstairs. The new store manager greeted, welcome to them. At this signal, the waiting staff all greeted in unison. Everyone, please make yourselves comfortable, I said, and the employees eagerly took their seats. Our coffee itself wasn't particularly distinctive. It was simpler and more affordable than some famous coffee shops with excessive toppings. We were known for our straightforward menu and delicious food. We offered takeout lunches and dinners for those who wanted to enjoy a good meal at a slightly higher price. The first store with this concept became very popular. After making it successful, we trained our staff and expanded, resulting in me becoming the CEO of a coffee chain with annual sales of $50 million. Why don't you sit here? I invited Sam and Ryan to a table slightly apart from the others. Then, a few people stood up. What? Ryan blurted out when he saw them. Wait a minute, Michelle, what are you doing here? What do you mean, Dad? Michelle scoffed and continued. I'm here because I'm a guest today. But, aren't only related parties here today? Ryan was confused and asked. Yes, and I'm one of those related parties. Oh, by the way, Dad, there's another person here you should meet. Ryan didn't seem to understand the meaning of her words. Michelle continued, ignoring her dad's confusion. Let me introduce you. This is Luke, my biological father. Ryan looked even more bewildered. Well, you wouldn't understand, Dad. There's still one more guest to come, Michelle said and turned towards the entrance. And there was a woman who looked around nervously, walking quickly towards us. It was Lena, who dressed overly youthfully just like when we met 6 months ago. She hurriedly opened the door. "Michelle, where's Michelle?" she called out as she rushed over. "Here comes the other guest." "Mom, over here," Michelle said calmly. Lena heard her voice and hurried over, then stopped in shock. "Michelle, why are you with this person?" Lena asked with trembling voice. "Why?" "Because he's also my father, isn't he?" Michelle continued in a calm voice, facing her stunned mother. Ryan finally seemed to grasp the situation by seeing the two of them. "Lena, do you know this man? Is there a connection?" "I don't know him. I've never seen him before." Lena tried to escape, shaking her head vigorously, but Noah and I stopped her. "Since you're here, why don't you have a cup of coffee?" I offered Lena a seat and asked the staff to bring her a coffee. "The coffee here is quite popular these days. You should at least try a cup." Michelle said so, and we almost forced Lena to sit down. I thought what a brave young girl Michelle was. I had heard she was only 16. That day, Michelle had chased after us to consult with us. She told us that she had heard I was once married to her father. At another cafe where we sat down, Michelle shared her concern. She said someone had come forward claiming to be her real father. "I heard that you divorced my father because I was in my mother's womb," she said. "Who told you that?" "My grandmother." That meant it was my mother-in-law. She had gone out of her way to tell such things to her granddaughter. But I thought that was just like her. "Did you talk to anyone else about this person?" I asked. "No, I haven't," she replied. "You haven't discussed it with your mother?" "No, I don't trust her, especially when it comes to relationships with men," Michelle said bluntly. "Because I don't trust my mother, I thought maybe this man really could be my biological father. And that man was Luke, who was sitting with us now." She initially doubted his story. But she got convinced after discussing certain gifts. "Ever since I was little, my mother would give me expensive clothes or items we couldn't normally afford. What's more, that was only when my father was away on business trips. She was just happy to receive the special gifts as a child. But as she grew older, she started to find it strange. She asked if he had ever sent her gifts in a conversation with Luke. Luke had smiled and said he was glad she had received them. Further probing revealed that he remembered the details and timing of the gifts perfectly. These matched Michelle's memories. That's why I asked for a DNA test with him. When I heard that, I thought she was a stout-hearted girl. I didn't know she would say something like that on her own. But how do you feel about your current parents since you are saying like this? I don't care about my dad. He hardly ever comes home. Whether it's work or something else, I don't know. So Ryan had ended up being a neglectful parent. Despite he was using the excuse of wanting children to leave me. I was shocked by Michelle's next words. "My mom has someone she's interested in. I don't know if they're dating, but it's not my dad. The other day, she came home in a taxi with him." Her words were painfully bitter. "But the other day, didn't you come to the cafe with your family? That was just a forced outing. My dad's idea of family service. But your family looked genuinely happy compared with that." She said this in a lonely voice. "Autumn, excuse me for asking, but are you sure Samantha isn't your stepdaughter?" "Absolutely not. I gave birth to her," I said firmly and hugged Samantha close. "Then, my father said something really rude to you at that time, right?" I had heard about it before. "Yes. Back then, your father and grandmother said things like that to me and forced me into a divorce. But after I remarried, I soon had my daughter and have been living happily ever since. So, I completely forgot about him. Honestly, I couldn't even remember his face at first. Really? I'm envious." I felt the urge to help this girl after hearing her talk. It seemed that something was still twisted in that family. Over the past 6 months, I had been present when Luke and Michelle met and discussed things again, which ultimately led to today's meeting. "It's really been a long time, Lena," Luke said with a smile. "I don't know you," Lena said, panicking. "Well, I have changed quite a bit. But DNA doesn't change. Luke said and showed the DNA test results to Ryan and Lena. Both of them took the document and stared at it. The results showed that there was no parent-child relationship between Michelle and Ryan, and almost a 100% match between Michelle and Luke. Ryan understood the meaning and turned pale looking at Lena. Seeing his reaction, Lena began to panic. "No, this is a lie, it's fake." "Then we can test again as many times as needed," Luke replied. "Although, it will probably show the same result each time. I have several test results here from different labs," he said and took out the additional test results. Lena lunged at Michelle. "What have you done?" "What do you mean, what have I done?" "So where did you come from today, Mom?" "What are you talking about?" Michelle took out her phone from her bag, tapped something on it, and showed the screen to Lena. "I received these, you see." The screen showed photos of Lena entering and leaving a hotel with a man. "These are doctored, they have to be." "No, they are not," Luke said. "How can you say that? I want to take my daughter away from you." "You can't do that," Lena shouted. "Yes, I can, so that if this parent-child relationship is established." "And Ryan, can you handle the fact that Lena has been deceiving you all along?" Ryan was speechless. "Deceiving?" The surrounding office ladies started whispering to each other by that reveal. I had called the company employees here specifically so they could hear this commotion. Sam came over and tried to quiet the office ladies. "Ryan, what's going on here?" "I don't know. I'd like to know myself," Ryan said, sweating. "But you left Autumn for your current wife years ago, and now there's trouble in your household again, right? That's not very promising for a senior management candidate." "What do you mean?" Ryan got panicked and looked around frantically. Then suddenly, "Stop it. Don't look at me," he shouted. But actually, no one was staring directly at him. Everyone was just subtly glancing at each other. But it seemed that those gazes felt like sharp daggers to Ryan. "What's going on? What should I do?" Lena saw her suddenly flustered husband and grew more agitated. "Now, please come in. It's your turn," Luke signaled, and a man from a nearby table approached. "This is my lawyer. I'm prepared to contest for the recognition and custody of my daughter. Is it okay?" Ryan was at a loss for words and froze. Luke continued to pressure him. "Is something wrong? You've been raising another man's child all this time. Doesn't that bother you?" "Well, it does bother me, but my mother, she wants a grandchild." "Oh, I see," I inadvertently voiced out. "You've always been weak when it comes to your mother, haven't you?" The whispers around us grew louder. I could hear the office ladies murmuring about Ryan being a mama's boy. "Michelle, you won't betray me since I'm your father, will you?" Ryan asked frantically, but Michelle tilted her head. "Honestly, it doesn't matter to me." Ryan looked deeply shocked by her words. He might have loved his daughter in his own way. But her words struck him hard. "You've always been too insensitive, Dad. Not just about Mom, but about me too." "What do you mean?" "I've been meeting with my other father for over 6 months. You didn't know anything about it. I knew you didn't care much about me because you were busy with work. But how could you not notice Mom's affair? What were you working so hard for?" Sweat began to drip from Ryan's forehead down his cheeks. "Wait, you said too much, Michelle," Luke intervened. "But I get it. If I disappeared, you'd be running around for Grandma, not for me. You always say, 'Oh, you did well in school. Grandma will be so happy,' or 'You're smart because of our genes,' ignoring everything on Mom's side." Lena looked away from her daughter. "So, Dad only wanted kids for Grandma's sake, right? Is that true?" Ryan couldn't respond. Michelle looked sad and said to Luke, "See, that's the kind of person he is." At that moment, "Michelle, what are you saying? Your father works hard for us every day. And you're betraying him without a second thought. You didn't even notice, did you, Mom?" "Well, of course not. Since you were often not home when I got home." And when I mentioned it, Luke helped confirm it. "Confirm?" "Yes," the lawyer replied. We conducted a thorough investigation into your infidelity at Luke's request. We have solid evidence from a private investigator. The photos you saw were just a part of it. Oh, what a mess. Sam sighed and watched the unfolding drama. To think all this would come out at once. Ryan, you were good at your job, but you couldn't keep your family together. No, but it's not entirely my fault. Ryan's words grew weaker. Luke pressed further. So, what will you do? As I said, we're ready to fight. Ryan mumbled something and then suddenly collapsed. Call an ambulance. Call an ambulance. The scene erupted into chaos. It seemed Ryan's mind couldn't handle the sudden onslaught of revelations. Well, there's nothing we can do now. Let's discuss this matter later, Luke said. Then, Lena suddenly turned to Luke and snapped. Wow, you've really come up in the world, being able to afford lawyers and private investigators. Quite different from then. Yes, that's true. Luke replied matter-of-factly. After I got rid of a money-draining pest like you, my finances, my work, and even my life improved. I even found a wonderful wife. Lena slumped her shoulders in defeat by his remark. Sorry for the disturbance. Please enjoy your time, I said to the office ladies who were watching us with keen interest. Not long after, Ryan and Lena divorced. The main reason was that Ryan's mother was furious with Lena. There were two reasons for her anger. One was, of course, the fact that Lena had been deceiving Ryan. The other was that it was discovered that Ryan was infertile. The fact that Ryan had never checked this himself also fueled his mother's anger. However, his mother aged rapidly when the dust settled. She even started showing signs of dementia. It was clear she would need care. Ryan had caused turmoil in his family again, so he was demoted to a less important position due to his poor management skills. Sam told me. Frankly, that position was probably the best one for Ryan to handle given his condition. The sudden shocks had severely affected his mental health. He had always believed he was right, so finding out I wasn't infertile, but he was. And that his beloved daughter had so easily dismissed him, these revelations broke the man who had always prided himself on his abilities. As for Lena, she tried to go to her affair partner after the divorce. However, this man claimed he had no idea she was married and ran away saying he felt deceived. Apparently, Lena had lied about her age and pretended to be 10 years younger. When she told him her real age, he looked like he wanted to throw up, according to the lawyer. After being rejected by her family, Lena had nowhere to go. From then on, she disappeared completely. It was uncertain what she could do since she had been a full-time housewife and a cheater. I thought it was best for her to hit rock bottom. As for Michelle, she was taken in by her biological father and his wife. They pleaded with her to live with them for the short time left until she became an adult. Luke's wife couldn't have children. And Michelle had grown close to her over the past 6 months. She deserved happiness after all she'd been through. Since then, our new store has thrived, possibly because of the drama surrounding its opening. We became friendly with the company upstairs since we were sharing a small secret with them. The office ladies admired me for rising to the top as the CEO of a famous coffee chain after my divorce. Their admiration was flattering, but I thought times had certainly changed. My daughter Samantha and Michelle also kept in touch. It is a strange coincidence, but perhaps children can make friends in such places unexpectedly. It was like she antagonized her mother, but it has nothing to do with the children being friends with each other. Noah looked at the two girls warmly, too. I want to cherish my family, work hard, be considerate, and live happily in the future.